This is understandable politics. Hello, the main phrase of recent weeks is rare earth metals. Why have they suddenly become a top issue in global politics? They are mostly discussed in the Ukrainian context, but if you dig deeper, it seems the topic is key from a geopolitical perspective. Most people have a rather vague idea about these substances. Let's fill the gap. In the last 30 years, the demand for rare earth metals has skyrocketed. As a result, production volume has increased more than tenfold. Today, important and most expensive components help people innovate in various fields, from nuclear and aviation industries to glass production. The history of 17 elements doesn't have very deep roots. In 1787, Swedish military officer Karl Arrhenius decided to spend his vacation in the settlement of Ytterby. The man was interested in mineralogy and knew there was an abandoned quarry nearby.
Arrhenius spent several days digging in the quarry until he discovered a dense black stone resembling coal. The amateur scientist detailed his discovery, marked the spot, and went home. The mineral was named ytterbite.
Our hero forgot about his discovery, but 7 years later, his research reached chemist Johann Gadolin. He discovered a compound of silicon, iron, and magnesium in the stone. And then, as they say, it all took off.
Yttrium earth sparked significant interest among scientists. For example, German chemist Martin Klaproth divided the samples into two parts. He kept one as ytterbite and named the other cerium earth, thus discovering a new element, cerium. A bit later, Swedish researcher Carl Mosander was able to isolate several more previously unknown elements from the same sample, marking an important step in the development of chemistry.
By the early 20th century, 16 rare earth metals had been discovered. The last one, promethium, was found in 1947, and all the elements are very similar to each other. A silvery hue is a common property, high reactivity to elevated temperatures, but most importantly, the ability to improve almost anything.
Nowadays, it's very hard to find industrial sectors where rare earth metals aren't used. They are critically needed in electronics, electric motors, optics, medicine, and the military industry, but in very small quantities.
Rare earth metals are a group of 17 chemical elements. The meaning and main value are already in the name. There are plenty in the Earth's crust, but the concentration in deposits is low, making extraction difficult and costly. But rare earths are critically important for high-tech production, hence the huge market demand, enormous demand.
They are used in creating cosmetics, mobile phones, electric vehicles, medical devices, solar panels, and wind turbines in microelectronics. Lightweight, strong alloys with rare earth metals are used in the aerospace industry. They are part of the most important and expensive components of magnetic, optical, laser, and electronic devices. According to scientists, these elements will help transition to the next stage of technological development, including bio and nanotechnologies, as well as the nuclear industry.
Let's not forget another important area, defense. Lasers, radars, guidance systems, guided missiles, drones, they also contain rare earth elements. The main feature is that, besides being rare, these metals don't exist independently in the Earth's crust. but are found among other elements. They are most often found in a dispersed state as impurities in various minerals.
Hence the complexity in purification, processing, and disposal of byproducts, which are often toxic and even radioactive. The process requires resources and investments. Therefore, not every country can afford active work in this direction.
For example, yttrium is used in creating high-temperature superconductors. Lanthanum is necessary for optical devices and making battery electrodes. Gallium and germanium are used for chip production, europium for TV and monitor screens, neodymium magnets are used in creating engines for drones, satellite navigation systems, and electric vehicles, including Tesla. They are also present in MRI machines. Neodymium, dysprosium, and terbium are needed for creating hard drives, smartphones, headphones, and other equipment.
In simple terms, without their use, it's impossible to imagine the new technological order today. They are indispensable in rapidly growing industries. Considering the digitalization of society and the growing consumption of electronic devices, the significance of rare earth products is gaining a geopolitical scale.
Rare earth metals and their compounds are mainly used for producing magnets and enhancing the properties of various materials, catalysts, glass ceramics, powders, electrodes, alloys, and more. For example, without neodymium magnets, no MRI machine can be created.
Rare earth metals are called the vitamins of industry. Even minimal additions of such elements significantly improve characteristics.
Take a modern smartphone. Its production requires several rare earth elements, gadolinium, europium, and yttrium for displays, speakers, and electronic circuits. Dysprosium and terbium for maintaining properties during temperature fluctuations. Lanthanum for electronic circuits. Neodymium and praseodymium for magnets. Cerium for polished glass.
According to the Research Nestor portal, in 2024, the global rare earth metals market volume will reach nearly $12 billion. In 2025, it may add more than $500 million. But the amounts aren't the main thing. Access to them is like a window to the future in terms of technology, a crucial element of competition and national security.
Automotive components, not just electronics and transmissions, neutralizers, and so on. Engines included, metal alloys, alloying components. I'll talk about iron, aluminum, cobalt, and other metals. Laser industry, certainly crystals and glasses used in the laser industry. Ceramics, solid-state laser accelerators, these are all rare earths. Glass industry, they are indispensable. Optical lenses, monitors, the screens we're communicating through now, again, they contain a significant amount of rare earths. Super durable, heat-resistant ceramic products. That's half of space. There it is. Catalysts, including at oil refineries. There it is. And special applications, as you might think. Military equipment, missiles, satellites, regulatory systems, guided missiles.
China has been the absolute world leader for many years. It accounts for about 70% of mining and 90% of processing. That is, the main production and consumption.
Interestingly, 30 to 40 years ago, such dominance didn't exist. Until the early 90s, the leading producer of rare earth metals was the USA, with the main source being the Mountain Pass deposit in California. Around the same period, China began actively modernizing its mining industry. The state directed significant funds to develop this important area.
Thanks to state support, a large number of rare earth metal production enterprises have been established in China, explains independent industrial analyst Leonid Kazanov. As a result, China became the leader in the global market. By the end of 2023, China produced 240,000 tons of rare earth metals, or 69% of the 350,000 tons produced worldwide.
Today, China is the main heavyweight in the strategic sphere, capable of influencing the entire global market almost single-handedly. Beijing uses its dominant position to respond to U.S. jabs as a tool of pressure in response to Washington's trade restrictions.
Another key consumer is the USA. China's control of this market has led to a wave of sanctions from the United States. In 2022, the U.S. Congress banned companies from using Chinese rare earth magnets for national defense purposes. In response, China restricted the export of technologies for extracting these metals.
According to the U.S. Geological Survey in 2024, the total production of rare earths was 390,000 tons, 11% more than in 2023. China mined 270,000, the USA only 45,000, and Myanmar another 31,000. Russia accounts for only a few thousand tons, although it ranks second in the world in terms of reserves.
According to Russia's Ministry of Natural Resources, the country has 15 types, or 28.5 million tons of rare earth metals. The total reserves of 29 types of rare metals in Russia amount to 658 million tons. A total of 18 rare earth metal deposits have been explored in the country. As TASS writes, citing Minister of Natural Resources Alexander Kozlov, Russia can meet current global demand for more than 100 years.
But experts note that it's not that simple. Developing the industry is a complex and not very fast process.
The main reserves in the country are concentrated in hard-to-reach and poorly studied deposits. Currently, only the Lovozero deposit on the Kola Peninsula is being developed, where tantalum, niobium, and titanium are also mined. To extract metals, they need to be separated into oxides. There are no enterprises in Russia capable of doing this on an industrial scale. There are also large reserves of rare earth metals in the new regions of the DPR and LPR.
Russia indeed has potential, but many deposits require detailed exploration. For example, large deposits known in Yakutia, Chukotka, and the Magadan region, but they are not yet sufficiently studied.
If all stages are implemented without serious delays, the full development of the rare earth metals industry in Russia could take 15 to 25 years. However, actual timelines depend on the following factors: the volume of state and private funding, the country's level of technological readiness, project management efficiency, political will, and the industry's priority for the state. In the initial stage, limited successes may be achieved, such as exporting concentrates or primary metals within 5 to 10 years. But full competitiveness in the global market will require a longer period.
As is often the case with the USA, the answer is embarrassingly simple: the desire to earn and strengthen global influence. By 2037, the promising market should triple in size and exceed $33 billion.
For her, rare earth metals mean incredible breakthroughs in microelectronics, in the creation, development, and production of the latest technologies, including military technologies, industrial and scientific equipment, as well as completely independent from the outside airplanes, cars, machinery, construction industry, and so on. The situation where the United States of America, or rather this big tech USA primarily, has become very dependent on the People's Republic of China, is the biggest and most terrifying headache for the Trump administration.
Plus, the White House is irritated by China's dominance. Americans aren't used to someone else setting the rules, and here, their arch-rival is the only one in the world with a full cycle of rare earth production. Access to them is a key factor in creating modern technologies, a crucial card in the battle for global leadership.
According to expert estimates, 80% of U.S. high-tech industrial production depends on Chinese rare earth exports. Thus, a sharp reduction in supplies could create serious difficulties for leading chip manufacturers, AMD, Apple, Broadcom, Qualcomm, Nvidia, Intel, and other industries. In an effort to reduce their dependence on China, several countries, including the USA, Australia, and Canada, have started investing in the extraction, exploration, and processing of raw materials containing rare earth metals. By the way, rare earth deposits in Greenland may be one of the key interests of the states in this country.
Another problem with extracting rare earth elements is the threat to the environment. During the development of the ore and obtaining the concentrate, heavy waters remain. They surface and cause irreparable damage to the environment. So Trump's desire to extract them thousands of kilometers away from the USA and Ukraine is quite understandable.
Global reserves of rare earth metals are estimated at 90 million tons. The amount in Ukraine remains unknown. The exact figure is missing. Analysts, depending on their bias, give figures ranging from $500 million to as much as $15 trillion.
Ukraine has 21 out of 30 substances that the European Union defines as critical raw materials, which is about 5% of global reserves. Many areas with these deposits are located in the south of the Ukrainian crystalline massif, mainly under the Sea of Azov. Most of these areas are currently under Russian control, but Ukraine still has promising projects in Middle Pobushia, as well as in the Kyiv, Vinnytsia, and Zhytomyr regions.
The rare earth metals deal is crucial for Trump to end the war in Ukraine, but media opinions are divided. While Trump talked about a $500 billion deal, journalists write that Kyiv is deceiving the USA. Either these reserves don't exist, or they weren't promised to the UK, which had agreed to transfer the reserves before the conflict. The only question is, where is the Ukrainian people in this scheme?
He's just a businessman in my view. Squeeze out what he initially wanted. Maybe even more, because they have no other option. Ukraine tried to find salvation. They understand that the deal that Trump offers with rare earth materials. And why did Trump's rhetoric change? There are two key points. First, Zelensky deceived about the real state of those minerals. That's the first point. Second point, he even refused to sign what he himself proposed. Accordingly, Trump cornered him.
Let's turn to an important detail. Almost 70% of explored reserves are not controlled by Ukraine. Therefore, Trump is quite ready to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. The latter seems not to mind.
By the way, we would be ready to offer our American partners, when I say partners, I mean administrative governmental structures, companies, if they showed interest in joint work. We undoubtedly have, I want to emphasize, significantly more resources of this kind than Ukraine.
Predicting the future is a thankless but extremely fascinating task. It's clear that the USA needs rare earth metals to break China's monopoly. Additionally, Washington has been looking ways to increase its own production of microchips and boards in recent years.
Experts note that this step is also a long-term view. The main producer of microchips is the island of Taiwan. By taking some of the capacities for itself, the USA reduces its dependence on Taipei in this area and avoids conflict with China over the status of the island part of the Celestial Empire.
Some claim that Russia and the West have different terminology. We include 17 metals in the group, while the West includes 30, but that's not true. There have always been only 17. This is accepted in the scientific and technical community worldwide, but there is a group of rare, scattered, and other metals. Economists and politicians combine these terms into one for simplicity. Sometimes this raw material is called strategic, from which final products are made, allowing a country to occupy leading positions in the economy or military sphere. Many politicians confuse terms and call all metals rare earth, and US President Donald Trump is no exception.
What game Trump is playing, we can only guess. In any case, the rare earth metals deal could indeed become a new starting point in geopolitics.
However, it turned out somewhat differently. Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky staged a real political show. Right in front of the cameras, both politicians said everything that had been building up. As a result, the 47th U.S. president called the Ukrainian leader ungrateful and kicked him out of the White House. The metals deal was canceled, and the White House is considering completely removing any assistance to Ukraine.
For our part, we hope that the rare earth fever will finally lead to peace. However, the history of gold and oil madness suggests otherwise. But in any case, Ukrainian sovereignty has completely dissolved in the flow of the White House's global appetites. Goodbye!